this is NLAC Gaming and Podfix. This will be the first fic in a series called Magic Exists. The first fic is named Magic Exists. Summary. Izuku gets a quirk, a magic-oriented quirk. The first thing he does with it is summon elementals. Congratulations! Today is a big day for you! Izuku Midoriya, age 14. Quirk, magic exists. Quirk description. Magic has long been an art practiced by a dedicated few, generally those who happened upon the experiments of others or accidentally performed a feat of magic and experimented with future applications. It has fallen out of use entirely since the advent of quirks. So you are the first person in 135 years to have access to magic. Due to your quirk, you can master any of all schools of magic, unlike others who are restricted by their affinities. You can also teach others magic that you have learned in their affinities. Stats, settings, skillbook, Glimmermore, elementals, inventory. He stares at the screen blankly, then rereads it carefully. Finally, he bites his lip. If this is a prank, it's very much not funny. The floating screen changes in response. None of your schoolmates have an illusion quirk powerful enough to affect you at home, and no one else would care enough to bother. Additionally, none of your schoolmates are bright enough and rich enough to hire someone to do a prank like this. That's a good point. Then, Mom! Mom! I got my quirk! He screams, running out of his room and skidding around corners. Izuku, what's the matter? His mom asks, apparently not catching what he's yelling. Taking a deep breath, he deliberately slows his speech. Mom, I got a quirk. Are you sure? She asks intently. Yes, like 94% sure. I can't think of anyone who could play a prank on me like this. I woke up to a text screen hanging mid-air and congratulating me on getting my quirk. At least he assumes that is what was congratulating him on. It's called Magic Exists and says I can learn any kind of magic and I can even teach magic to people, but only the ones they have affinities for. Oh my! His mom bursts into happy tears and hugs him, which sets him off too. Finally, they manage to compose themselves. So what kind of spells do you have? She asks curiously. Well, his quirk provided a convincing argument, so maybe it's sentient enough that he can just ask? Quirk, do I have any spells yet? A book with Glimmermore on the cover appears mid-air. He blinks and grabs it and opens it. And the first page has writing on it, but the rest of the pages are blank. Curious. He flips back to the first page. Summon elemental. Description. With this ritual, you can summon an elemental of any element you have an affinity for. For you, this is all affinities. For others, it is their respective affinities. If you fail to set up the ritual correctly, you will not gain a contract with an elemental. Instead, you will experience an elemental explosion that may harm you and anything in your vicinity. The diagram of magic circle. Use powdered chalk to the drawn magic circle lines to complete the magic circle. Other neutral materials may be substituted, but chalk is the most easily available. Alternately, the magic circle can be drawn in chalk. Make sure there are no gaps in the lines and that the lines are as accurate as possible. In the event of summoning a dark type elemental, substitute salt for chalk to increase safety, as dark elements are dangerous if used carelessly. Make sure lines are not smudged or broken, as either can result in a failed ritual. Then say the following words. Elemental of, insert name of element, come answer my call. Come enter a contract with me, power for power, human form and speech, and mana for service. Once an elemental forms in the middle of the circle, it may substitute a condition for the mana or for human form to make a request in addition to these terms. If these terms are not to your liking, say these words. Thank you for attending my call. However, we don't suit each other. So go freely with no contract. You may then repeat the ritual, but the magic circle must be cleaned away and remade to do so. Failing to do so will result in a failed ritual. If the terms are to your liking, instead say these words. I agree to these terms and offer the name, insert appropriate name, to seal the contract for my lifetime between us. If I should break these terms, you may go freely with no contract. The elemental will then state that they accept the name to seal the contract. Alternatively, they may reject the name and demand one that they like better before they consent to seal the contract. After the contract is made, you may inquire what their abilities are. Said abilities are generally quite in line with their element. For instance, fire elements will have fire-based skills, but which they have to start with varies widely between individual elements. For instance, a fire element may have the ability to make a spark, or on the extreme other end, may have the ability to use lava or create a large explosion. Izuku reads through it, then turns the book to show his mom. She reads through it, eyes widening at the first part before turning intent as she reads through the rest of it. So, Mom, wanna try summoning an elemental? He says with a wild grin. Her eyes move from the book to meet his gaze, and she smiles. So others can see these elementals? Yes, they can they can be seen when summoned. My Quirk says yes, but only when summoned, he relays. Excellent! Her smile turns into a grin that matches his. I'm sure having an elemental with you will make it easier to convince the Quirk doctor that you have a Quirk after all this time. His grin fades. Hey, Mom, can we go to a different doctor this time? The one I had as a little kid was kind of mean. Her grin twists into a grimace. Of course, sweetie. It's possible that old Quack has died since then anyway. Does your Quirk say what my element is? Izuku Midoriya. Age, 34. Quirk, pull. Quirk description. A single directional use of minor telekinesis. Elemental affinity, kinesis, subcategory, telekinesis. It says kinesis, but it also has a telekinesis subcategory, Izuku says uncertainly. Well, I'll use telekinesis then. What element are you going to use? Fire, like Katsuki? His mom asks. His turn to grimace. Don't get him wrong. Kachan is amazing, but he's kind of an a-hole. And, well, fire reminds him of his father, who found a job in America 3 weeks after his quirkless diagnosis and hasn't bothered to visit even once since then. What's the opposite of fire? Ice? I think maybe I'll try ice instead. Oh, well, that should be interesting, his mom chirps. Do you want to go first? Can you? He wants to make sure that this isn't some elaborate prank, even though logically no one would go this far. Sure, sweetie, she reassures him. I don't have chalk on hand, but I've got salt in bulk because they had it on sale. They set up the magic circle on the dining room table so they don't have to do it on the floor. Then Inko checks the Glimmermore again and says, Elemental of telekinesis, come answer my call. Come enter a contract with me, power for power, human form and speech and mana for service. They both hold their breath, watching the middle of the circle intently. Space seems to twist in on itself after a moment and resolves into a miniature person about 8 inches high, of an uncertain age, dressed in combat gear, in a material that shimmers blue, then black, and back again. The person seems to be a male with black, green, blue shifting hair, pulled back into a tight ponytail, strong features, and a sturdy build. He studies her for a long moment, then scoffs. I've got way more mana than you, so I want something else instead. What do you have to offer? She puts a hand to her chest unconsciously. I can cook? The little man tilts his head, then looks Izuku up and down consideringly. Is she any good at it? What, cooking? Oh yeah, she makes the best katsudon and frozen mochi, Izuku blurts. All right, then, a meal a day instead of mana, the little man soldier says, and smirks at Inko. I can do that, she agrees. Oh, Izuku, what are the words for this part? Izuku hands her the Glimmermore. Thanks, sweetie. She clears her throat and addresses the little man. I agree to these terms and offer the name Mikumo to seal the contract for my lifetime between us. If I should break these terms, you may go freely with no contract. The little man glances between her and Izuku a couple times, smirk growing before he answers. I accept the name Mikumo to seal this contract between us on these terms. There's a flash of light from the circle, and then Mikumo walks out of it casually. Unlike you, Master, your kid has a stupid amount of mana. Is he going next? If so, you're going to need to clean the circle and start over fresh. She blinks at him. Oh, you can call me Inko, and yes, he is. I'm supposed to ask you what you can do. Mikumo smirks again and shoves his hands in his pockets. Suddenly the table lifts and spins gently, with Mikumo casually pivoting to remain facing them. Then his mom yelps as her feet leave the floor. I can lift and manipulate things up to 640 pounds within a distance of a third of a mile. He sets her on the table back down. You can summon me by calling or thinking my name, which takes a little mana, and you have to feed me on days you summon me. Or you can leave me summoned, which costs you nothing other than a meal a day. Looking down at the circle, which is now in front of him, he casually sweeps all the salt off into a trash can. You can go ahead and set up the ritual again, Inko's son. Izuku blinks at him. I'm Izuku. Thanks for cleaning that up. I'll do that now. It doesn't take quite as long the second time, since they know what they're doing now. At some point, Mikumo ends up sitting on his mom's shoulder to watch. Elemental of Ice, come answer my call. Come enter a contract with me. Power for power, human form and speech and mana for service, Izuku says nervously. Instead of space twisting, a mini snowstorm kicks up in the middle of the new magic circle and forms into a stocky-looking man in a red velvet suit and hat with a full beard, mustache, and hair that both appear to be made out of ice. The resemblance to the European myth is surreal. The man looks them all over, scoffs when he sees Mikumo, and folds his arms. Those terms are acceptable. Oh good, I suck at cooking, Izuku blurts, and gets a weird look from the red-suited little man. I agree to these terms and offer the name Santa to seal the contract for my lifetime between us. If I should break these terms, you may go freely with no contract. You are not original, the little man informs him with a huff. Fine, I accept the name Santa to seal the contract between us on the given terms. A flash of light from the circle follows. Izuku bites his lip to refrain from squealing in delight. My Glimmermore says I should ask you what you can do. Santa uncrosses his arms. Frost. The entire table frosts over. Small freeze. A large ice cube appears in front of him. And sculpt. The ice cube transforms into a miniature throne, and Santa takes a seat, casually crossing one leg over the other. That's all. Then he adds, call or think my name if you need to summon me. And then he dissolves into a miniature snowstorm that disappears a moment later. Izuku, his mom, and Mikumo stare at the table. Finally, his mom clears her throat. Mikumo, do you think you could clean that up into the trash can again before it melts. Sure. Damp salt and a slightly melting ice cube hit the trash. Well, that went well, his mom says brightly. He giggles because it really did. Even if Mikumo is way cooler than Santa, Santa is pretty standoffish. So, you're a late bloomer. You said your quirk came in 3 days ago, and is this little guy part of your quirk? The quirk doctor asks kindly, looking at Mikumo sitting on Inko's shoulder. Mikumo chuckles. No, but Inko summoned me using information that Izuku's quirk gave him. Izuku summoned Santa with the same information. Santa? She asks in confusion. Santa, Izuku calls out. Santa forms out of a snow swirl on the nearest flat surface. You called, Master? Santa asks, giving the doctor a funny look. You can call me Izuku. Yeah, I called you because I needed to prove I can summon you, Izuku explains. My goodness, when you said Santa, I didn't think you meant a miniature Santa, the quirk doctor said, sounding delighted. Isn't he a part of your quirk? Izuku shakes his head. No, I mean, kinda, but not really. According to the Glimmermore my quirk gives me, anyone can summon an elemental if they have an affinity for the element. There's a ritual for it. My mom used it first and got Mikumo. And then I went and got Santa. Mikumo can do telekinesis like Mom, and Santa can make frost in small amounts of ice. Oh, and shape it too. My quirk isn't the magic. It's that it allows me to do all magic I can learn regardless of affinity. Oh, and I can teach it to others, like the summoning ritual. It also gives me stats, settings, and inventory like RPG, a Glimmermore, a skill book, and a tab to keep track of the elementals I contract with. It talks to me via text boxes, and I'm pretty sure it's at least partially sentient. The doctor sets her pen down, puts her head in her hands, and sighs. Doctor, are you all right? His mom asks in concern. She drops her hands into her lap and laughs. I'm going to be honest with you, Mrs. Midoriya. This quirk is going to attract a lot of attention, and a lot of it will be bad. Not only has Izuku admitted that he's got a spellcaster-type gamer quirk, he can teach it to others without them relying on his quirk. He's going to be at high risk of being kidnapped. The HPSC might even be willing to offer protection for a quirk like this, but they'd want to train you too. Is that a bad thing? His mom asks. It is if you don't want him to work for them, he looks at Izuku. I suggest keeping your quirk quiet entirely, or at least until you're in a hero school, if you want to be a hero. And it's fine if you don't, but if you brag about this, or even tell a few people, word is going to get around, and you and your mom will be in danger. If you don't want to be a hero, we can put your quirk down as something innocuous, like spirit summons, and list Santa and Mikumo as your summons, and let people believe that's all you can do. But if you want to be a hero, then we have to tell the truth. Oh, Izuku nods. I don't want to put Mom in danger, but I do want to be a hero. I figured, she says, with a slight nod. Okay, the only thing I can really do to help you then is to put the details under restricted access until you're 16. Hero schools and cops and the HPSC will get that access, but they won't look unless there's a good reason to. In the meantime, be careful about who you share the details of your quirk with. Actually, Mikumo puts in, you don't have to worry about your mom, Izuku. I can keep her reasonably safe. The doctor looks at him in surprise, but Izuku just nods, because that makes sense. And it's a load off of his shoulders. All right, the doctor says after a moment. Do you have any other spells in your Glimmermore? He shakes his head no. Have you explored any of the other tabs of your quirk? The doctor asks. Not yet, he admits. Okay, try opening stats, she instructs. Izuku Midoriya. Quirk, magic exists. Strength, 8. Dexterity, 7. Stamina, 10. Vitality, 20. HP 2000. Mana 5672. Note, HP recovers at 1 HP per minute. Mana recovers at 1 mana per minute. Note, there are no stat points achieved for levels or accomplishments, but stats can be ground for the old-fashioned way. There are no shortcuts other than temporary body reinforcement spells to a healthy physique for the magic caster. He huffs a laugh. It says I have to get in shape the hard way, but I can write down the stats for you if you want. No, that's okay. I don't need to know unless it's something unusual. She demurs. Just that my vitality is twice as much as my stamina. But that makes sense, he shrugs. Yeah? Okay, go into settings. Settings. Background music. On, off. Personal, public. Text boxes. Private, share with individuals, or public. Text color. Black, green, blue, red, yellow, purple, or orange. Background color. Clear, white, blue, green, red, or black. Inventory stack size. 1, 50, or 99. Inventory categories. On or off. Inventory subcategories. On or off. Party chat. On or off. He leaves background music on off and personal. Changes text boxes to share with individuals. Leaves text color on black and background color on green. Changes inventory stack from 1 to 99. Switches inventory categories on, inventory subcategories on, and leaves party chat off. He then pokes at text boxes. Text boxes. Say share with individual's name temporarily, or share with individual's name to enable text box sharing. Share with Izuku Midoriya temporarily. Share with Dr. Amagia temporarily. He instructs. Both women make startled sounds as identical setting screens pop up in front of them. Looks like you figured it out, Dr. Amagia says after a moment. Try inventory. Inventory. 0 stacks. 1 tab. 5 categories. 0 subcategories. The fact that you can use tabs, categories, and subcategories probably means your inventory can hold a lot. Try elementals, Dr. Amagia instructs. Elementals. 1. Ice. Santa. Okay, that looks about right. What was the other thing? A skill book? The doctor asks. Skill book. Skill fragments. Number 2. Skill cost. Mana ball costs 10 fragments. Fireball costs 10 fragments. Water ball costs 10 fragments. Earth ball costs 10 fragments. Wind ball costs 10 fragments. Ah, so it is a spell store. I thought as much, Dr. Amagia says in satisfaction. Does it say how to gain skill fragments? He pokes at it, but nothing changes. Maybe by using spells I have? That would make sense. I wonder if it's 2 fragments per use, or if others using your spells also counts, the doctor wonders. I don't know, he admits. You can try summoning another elemental later to find out, his mom suggests. Good idea. Anyways, I think that's enough information for a valid description. If anything big changes, come back. What do you want to call your quirk? Dr. Amagia asks. I'm not sure. It calls itself magic exists, he admits. Dr. Amagia's lips twitch up in a half smile. That sounds like a fair description. You say it's sentient, right? I think so, Izuku replies. Well, either you can name it like it's sentient, or you can keep magic exists as its name, she suggests. I think I'll stick with magic exists for now. I can always give it a nickname later, he says after a pause. Fair enough. It does make it sound rather like party tricks, so that should divert attention, she acknowledges. He walks out with a temporary quirk registration maybe 15 minutes later, and an assurance that he'll be mailed the permanent card for it once the registration goes through. Izuku Midoriya. Quirk, magic exists. Description: allows user to summon humanoid spirits that can do minor elemental tricks, such as making frost or small amounts of ice. Also allows user to purchase spells such as Water Ball, which the user does not currently have access to. Restricted access description: allows user to purchase spells through spell fragments. How to gain these fragments is not yet understood. Available to purchase spells: Mana Ball, Water Ball, Fireball, Air Ball, Earth Ball. Available spell: Summon Elemental. This spell ritual allows the user to summon elementals with which he has an affinity. Furthermore, others may also use this ritual to make contracts with elementals. Elementals appear in human form at doll size, but can speak and act independently. Elemental skills vary with affinity and between individuals. Purposely other skills learned may be taught to others with an elemental affinity. It is unclear what counts as an elemental affinity. Currently, the user has one summons named Santa, who is an ice elemental with a minor ice-related skills. The user's mother also has a summons named Mikmo, who reportedly can use telekinesis skills. Quirk may be sentient. User also has an inventory through mechanics, though the mechanics of it are currently unknown. And that's the end of the first work of the first part of Magic Exists. So I will be putting out another video soonish. Thank you for listening to my videos. I really enjoy doing this, and it's a lot of fun. So don't forget to eat your food, all 3 meals, drink your water, and make sure to get some good sleep at night, okay? Bye.